August 18th, 1940. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the rolling fields of southern England. The Spitfires were once again lined up on the runway, their engines idling in preparation for another sortie. Squadron Leader Brown stood by his aircraft, the weight of the previous day's combat pressing on him. The Battle of Britain was escalating, and each day the stakes seemed to grow higher. The British pilots had faced their first test, and the Spitfire had proven its worth. However, doubts about its effectiveness still lingered in some quarters. Though the initial engagements had been successful, could the Spitfire continue to hold its own as the intensity of the battle increased? The Luftwaffe had not yet unleashed the full fury of its assault. More planes, more bombers, and more fighters were coming, and the British pilots knew they would need every advantage to survive. As Brown climbed into the cockpit of his Spitfire, he couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come in such a short time. The pilots who had once questioned the Spitfire's capabilities were now singing its praises. Even the older, more experienced pilots, who had cut their teeth in the slower Hurricanes, had come to appreciate the speed and agility of the Spitfire. It was a machine built for aerial combat, its elliptical wings cutting through the air like a predator in pursuit of its prey. That afternoon, the sky was alive with the hum of engines as the British pilots took to the air once again. The mission was clear: defend England from the incoming Luftwaffe bombers. The intelligence reports had come in. A massive raid was expected. As the squadron ascended, the familiar sight of German bombers appeared on the horizon. They were escorted by the ever-present Bf-109s. The Luftwaffe was relentless, and the pilots knew this would be another deadly confrontation. As they closed in on the enemy, Brown's focus sharpened. The Spitfire was a part of him now, its controls responding to every command. He had learned to trust its agility, to rely on its speed, and to use its superior climb rate to gain the upper hand. Today, he was not just a pilot. He was a predator, hunting the German aircraft with calculated precision. The dogfight began as soon as they were within range. The Luftwaffe fighters immediately engaged the British planes, and chaos erupted in the sky. Brown, his eyes locked on a Bf-109 diving toward him, yanked his Spitfire into a sharp climb. The German pilot followed, determined to get a shot, but the Spitfire was too quick. Brown turned sharply, his aircraft flipping over, in a move that would have been impossible for a less agile plane. The Bf-109, unable to match the Spitfire's maneuver, overshot and flew into the path of a fellow pilot who opened fire and brought it down. It was clear now. The Spitfire was not just a match for the Bf-109, it was superior. With every passing minute, more and more of the German aircraft were falling from the sky. The British pilots, emboldened by their newfound confidence in the Spitfire, were flying with a new sense of determination. They were no longer simply defending, they were striking back. And they were doing so with an efficiency that shocked even the Luftwaffe. The Battle of Britain was still far from won, but the Spitfire's effectiveness in these early days of the battle had already proven critical. It was not just the aircraft's speed or its climb rate that made it so dangerous. It was its ability to outmaneuver the enemy at every turn, to engage the Luftwaffe on its own terms. And this, more than anything, was what would define the outcome of the battle. As the sky cleared and the last of the German aircraft were sent into a spiral toward the earth, Brown allowed himself a moment of relief. His Spitfire had held up under pressure. His squadron had achieved another victory. But there was no time to rest. More raids would come, and the battle would only intensify. Yet, as the pilots made their way back to base, they knew something had changed. The Spitfire, the aircraft they had once doubted, was now their most powerful weapon, and with it, they were ready to take on whatever the Luftwaffe threw at them next.